Anything you want to throw in, you're welcome to.
Turn that speaker off or something?
Yeah, I just turned it off. Just want to make sure we're still on tape here. Because it's embarrassing when you sit here for a half an hour and then find out you have nothing on it. I wouldn't know what to say. Right now, KDKL Radio has the pleasure of talking to one of the greatest jazz pianists and composers around today, Mr. George Shearing. Hey, welcome to Denver.
Thank you, Don. Nice to be with you.
Hey, it's been kind of a while, since you've been here.
8 or 9 years.
8 or 9 years? Mm-hmm. It's really nice to have you down here. Tell us what you're up to here in Mile High City, where you're playing and so forth.
Well, I'm playing at Marvelous Marv's, through Saturday, 2 shows a night. The show is advertised 9:15 and 11:15. That's because an act precedes us. We actually go on at 10:15 and 12:15. And it'll be 2 shows a night through Saturday. I'm still on the road actually about 10 months out of the year, Don, and the reason for that is primarily not at my age that one needs to work that much, but in 1971, I went into my own record label, and when you have that, it's necessary to be on the road and plug it for all it's worth, And we go all the way. We put cards on the table so that if people want to fill them in and be on our mailing list, so we can advise them what records are coming out and when we're going to be in their area. And they also have an itinerary so they know what other areas we're going to be in case they are planning to visit there. Actually, when we sell the records, as we so often do, in the club itself, then we keep the cards with us, and then we'll be sure that everybody who's interested that comes over to even speak to us, we'll see that they get a card, and if they buy a record as well, great, It's called Sheba, S-H-E-B-A. And before your listeners ask any awkward questions, I'm the king of Sheba.
How did that name originate?
Well, the first 3 letters of my name and the first 2 letters of my wife's maiden name, which was Bays. So it's S-H-E for Shearing and B-A for Bays, Sheba. And it's strictly mail order. I say strictly. I think we've got 20 stores throughout the entire country. We're making absolutely no attempt at this point to go national distribution because we're not doing spectacular things with the covers, and we're not trying to see how many top 10 tunes we can get on. In other words, we're not entering the record rat race that's going on today. We're trying to keep the product of a high quality, things that we know through our 20-odd years of experience traveling, people want to hear, and sooner or later we get to record them and put them out on good quality records. The only thing is that, of course, this has to be paid for, and the best way to pay for that is to keep it reasonably exclusive and to have it available almost exclusively through mail order.
The emphasis is on the artistic concept rather than the money-making part of it.
Yeah, because you see, we've been around for a number of years, and we're not trying to crash into a newly founded career, and certainly the record business is not my only business. The quintet and the club is, and the concert hall is the main business, of course. If your listeners sound unheard or sight unseen, as it were, probably during the show they'll have some interest sound heard rather than unheard, because we'll plan to play a couple of tracks from a couple of our Sheba recordings. I've been speaking for about 10 minutes. Have you got anything?
How many albums have you put out?
Well, as I say, we went into business on May the 1st, 1971. We have 4 albums available at the moment. A piano solo, a trio, a quartet, which is a trio with a marvelous organ of another blind friend of mine named Don Heitler. And we have a second trio album out with the wonderful vocal sounds of Joe Williams. So we have 4 albums, and we've got 2 or 3 more in the works, which we're working on concurrently.
Yeah, that's great. Tell us about some of the members of your quintet and what instruments they play and so forth.
I have Andy Simpkins from the Three Sounds on bass, who is really my idea of one of the top 3 jazz bass players in the entire country.
Didn't Israel Crosby used to work for you?
Yes, he did. Israel and Vernell used to work with me, and of course that's a beautifully tailored rhythm section from Ahmed Jamal. I have Rusty Jones on drums, who is a Chicago drummer, a fine drummer. Ron Anthony on guitar from Los Angeles, and Charlie Shoemake on vibes. Andy is probably the only one that, whose name you would know, because, the Three Sounds, Gene Harris has been around for many, many years.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
What are some of I know throughout your career you played with many groups and personalities and everything. What are some of the big groups that you had the pleasure of working with?
Well, of course, we've worked opposite Count Basie many, many times. I've had the pleasure of working with people like, Ray Brown, and I sat in with the Buddy Rich Band a couple of times. Let's see, big groups you're talking about.
We could probably be here all night.
Lionel Hampton. I worked opposite, and then of course the marvelous singers. I've played for Ella Fitzgerald. I've worked opposite Sarah Vaughan, and I've played for Sarah as far as that goes. I've played for Peggy Lee. We did an album with Peggy. We did an album with Nat Cole. I did 2 albums for Nancy Wilson. One I wrote for her and one I played on. And there was a marvelous blues singer some time ago called Dakota Staten. We did an album with her.
Right, her playing some of her things.
Right.
Do you see any trends or anything in jazz or music in general coming along?
You know what I think is going to happen? I think that there will continue to be a healthy integration between jazz, folk, and rock. I think that's where we are. Because
all kind of merged together, huh?
I think so. And then I think what we're doing is extracting the interesting ingredients from all 3 types of music. And certainly all 3 types of music have interesting ingredients.
That's what some of the other composers have done in the past, is put 2 musical styles together where it was unheard of, and then came out with some fantastic thing.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm glad we're going to have more of that in the future. Well, the name Shearing is just more than just a name. It's a description of music, because even in our commercial production library, it'll say, here's background music for a commercial, fast 2-beat George Shearing style or something,
Well, that's good.
I think we covered just about everything. Is there anything that you can think of that you'd like to add? Call people's attention to?
While we're on the road, I think I may have told you we play with a number of symphony orchestras.
Oh yeah, I read something about that.
And we play. I play Mozart concerto in the first half of the program and jazz in the second. So again, you see, we're getting involved in 2 types of music on the one program. I think that's kind of interesting too.
It is,
because you draw from both box offices,
What do you plan to do in the future?
Record more for Shiva, I guess, for a while. And I think sometime I'd like to get into teaching.
Is that right?
Yes, because you see, I've done a jazz workshop 1 week a year for 3 years at the University of Utah. And I just completed a week's jazz workshop in Chautauqua, New York, where I had a kind of a master jazz piano class from 9:30 to 11 in the morning. And I was coaching groups in the afternoon. And this is, it's kind of interest to me, this
You're sharing your knowledge there.
Yeah, well, I like to find out how quickly other people can pick up on what I try to communicate to them musically.
We get a certain sense of satisfaction of just seeing somebody pick something up.
Right.
Developing talents and so forth.
Right.
That's really great. I've got this one girlfriend who wanted to see you so bad, and she was underage to go into Marvelous Marv, so I made it up so that her parent could come along with her brother who takes piano and a whole bit. So I'm going to bring the whole family on Saturday night.
Oh, isn't that nice? Would you let me know when you're in? I'll come
Well,
and say hello to you. Right.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
Yeah, we're going to be at the first show on Saturday night.
Fine.
I have the reservations, and we got it all
Very
put
good.
together. But the girl reads piano by sight, for music, and her brother's taking it, and her mother wanted to be a concert pianist until she got married and so forth. So they really appreciate your show, I'm sure.
Well, that's great. I enjoy having people like that around because I know that they really know what I'm doing, not from the fact that they've heard my name or even from the fact that they recognize the sound. Of course, you can't undersell that. That's marvelous too. That your attempt at identification has succeeded. But the people who, when I come off and say, do you always use that C13th going to that C augmented because it's very interesting in a voice leading and that kind of thing. I like to hear this because I know that
they're listening.
I know. Well, I know that they really know what I'm doing, technically as well as from the point of view of just.
We know that they're listening, that they're not just sitting there absorbing and asking you what you're doing or something like this. Well, that's great. Do you hang around after your shows, or? Oh yeah, once in a while. Of course, this week we're selling records in the club, so I hang around until the customers have gone, to autograph them. Yeah. Oh, that's great. And well, of course, on Saturday night there's going to be a lot of people there. How's the response been so far? It's been great, Don. Really has. I've been very pleased. I think for the first two nights we've fluctuated between a half and three-quarters of a house, which they tell me is very good for Monday and Tuesday. I'm always looking for the full house, which is better than four of a kind. No, it isn't really. Well, it usually depends on what else is playing in town, and there's so many other varying factors. But Denver doesn't have that many nightclubs as such that have exclusive artists, It's true. Have you caught Sarah? Sarah's in town? No, I haven't. Yes, right. We're carrying some commercials on her, but I haven't seen her yet. Huh? I don't even know where she is, but I know she's playing at the Forum right now, I believe. Let's see. One of the shopping centers, right. See, there's a double reason for going out in the evening this week. You can go to the Forum and then come over to Marvelous Marv's, or go to Marvelous Marv's first and then go over to the Forum, Right, make it a big night. Makes it worth your while. You see, the one babysitter does the two jobs, Right. How's that commercial? I think we put on about 3 minutes worth. That's worth a lot of money now that I think about it. Well, it's certainly a pleasure talking with you. Oh, I was going to ask you one more thing. How did you come about Lullaby in Birdland? Birdland wanted a theme song for a radio show they were putting on, and they asked me to do it. So it took me all of 10 minutes. It's the most lucrative 10 minutes I ever spent in my life. We've got over 100 records on that thing. Now, that's what I call making money. I would say. I've never been able to make it at that rate since. I don't think anybody has, now that I think about it. No. Of course, the problem is just keeping that up, Right. No, you can't do it. You see, I was asked yesterday whether why, when people look through the libraries, they don't see a hit record. And how do I feel about that? Well, frankly, every artist, I think, would like to have a hit record. But it is not an obsession with me, simply because if you set up a standard of being able to sell 500,000 records, when your sales drop to 150,000 or 200,000, you're still in a pretty high sales bracket. But you've also shown a 300,000 drop in your sales. These figures, of course, are arbitrary, but the point is that the higher standard you set, the higher standard you have to maintain. You can maintain a musical high standard, but whether you maintain a standard of what can sell is not entirely dependent upon the artist. It is dependent upon the whims of the public. And a steady sale through a number of years
is far more desirable to me than a great big boom seller now, which you can't give away in 3 months and you can't repeat in a year.
This happens to too many artists, you know. Well, it's nice to have that kind of a stability. Like I said, your name is a description now, beyond just being a name.
Well, we've been around for 23 years. It's a long time, I guess.
Well, you've done a lot in those 23 years. I certainly thank you for coming down to KDKO Radio and talking with us here.
My pleasure, Don.
And get some of your music on the air, and I'm going to be down there, boy, Saturday night. My entire entourage. Bring my own entourage.
Very good.
I'll bring a quartet to listen to your quintet.
Oh, that's great.
Something like that. Okay, thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks, Don.
Testing. Okay. Okay, go right ahead. I'll get Janet in here first.
I'm sorry I didn't get to hear it.
I was going to make some introductions here. Okay.
Okay. I'd like you to listen now to a recording we made with the fine singer of many years with Count Basie fame, Joe Williams, doing a Benny Carter composition. This one, Blues in My Heart. Many songs have love in the title. And some years ago, we decided that every time we found a song with love in the title, for the word love, we would substitute the word lunch. You get tunes like, I'm in the mood for lunch. Lunch is better the second time around, and things like that. But few songs have more soul than this particular song, done by our quartet on Sheba. Please send me someone to love.
What can I do